Being selfless is destroying your life. That might sound harsh, but it's exactly what philosopher Ayn Rand discovered after escaping the brutal reality of Soviet Russia. She watched as people who constantly sacrificed themselves for others ended up empty, bitter, and unable to achieve their dreams. This wasn't just some random observation. Rand saw firsthand how the ideology of pure selflessness crushed the human spirit under communist rule, where individual success was considered a crime against the collective. But this isn't just about politics or some distant historical event. Right now, you're probably feeling the weight of endless expectations to put everyone else first. Your family needs help with bills. Your friends need emotional support. Your workplace demands unpaid overtime, all while your own dreams gather dust. Society calls this virtue, but Rand exposed the dirty secret. This kind of constant self-sacrifice isn't noble. It's a path to self-destruction. Think about Howard Rourke, the architect in Rand's novel The Fountainhead. Everyone told him to compromise his innovative designs to please clients, to follow traditions that made no sense, to put his vision aside for what others wanted. But Rourke refused. He lived in poverty, lost contracts, and faced public ridicule rather than betray his creative integrity. Meanwhile, his former classmate Peter Keating did everything right. He pleased everyone, followed all the rules, and sacrificed his own artistic dreams to give clients exactly what they wanted. Keating became rich and famous, but inside, he was dying. He couldn't even remember what he truly loved anymore. This wasn't just fiction. Rand based these characters on real architects she researched, particularly Frank Lloyd Wright, who faced intense criticism for daring to create unique American architecture instead of copying European styles. Wright, like Rourke, was called selfish, arrogant, and uncooperative. But his selfish pursuit of excellence gave the world masterpieces like Falling Water and the Guggenheim Museum. Meanwhile, countless talented architects of his era surrendered their creativity to please others, leaving behind forgettable buildings and forgotten names. The pattern repeats everywhere. Look at Steve Jobs in his early days at Apple. People called him selfish and difficult because he refused to compromise on his vision for user-friendly computers. His partner, Steve Wozniak, brilliant but more accommodating, often gave in to others' demands. Today, Jobs' selfish vision has revolutionized how humans interact with technology, while countless accommodating tech leaders from the same era are forgotten. Even in everyday life, this truth plays out. Take Sarah, a graphic designer I interviewed who spent years doing free work for friends, taking on projects she hated to please clients, and sacrificing her unique style to follow trends. I was being selfless, she said, but I was also losing my soul. Only when she started saying no, charging what she was worth, and pursuing her own artistic vision, did she create her best work. Work that actually helped others more than her people-pleasing ever did. Or consider the story of John, a successful business owner who nearly bankrupted himself trying to help every struggling friend and family member. His selflessness enabled addiction, encouraged irresponsibility, and almost destroyed the business that employed 50 people. When he finally started saying no and focusing on his company's health, he was called selfish. But that selfishness saved jobs and eventually let him help others through sustainable charity rather than self-destructive giving. This is what Rand understood that most people miss. Real achievement, the kind that actually moves humanity forward, requires a kind of selfishness. Not the cruel, exploitative kind, but the selfishness of the sculptor who refuses to compromise their vision, the scientist who pursues truth despite criticism, the entrepreneur who believes in their idea when everyone says they're crazy, the kind of selfishness that changes the world. The philosophy of self-interest isn't what most people think. When Rand talked about it in her 1,000-plus page book Atlas Shrugged, she wasn't promoting greed or telling people to hurt others. Instead, she was exposing something much deeper, the difference between true generosity and destructive self-sacrifice. Take Atlas Shrugged's main character, Dagny Taggart. She runs a railroad company in a world where being successful is considered evil. Everyone demands she give up her profits, hire people based on their needs rather than skills, and run trains to failing businesses at a loss. They call her selfish for refusing. But here's the twist. By protecting her company's success, She keeps thousands employed and transports the goods that keep millions alive. Meanwhile, the selfless business owners who give in to these demands watch their companies collapse, leaving their workers jobless. This plays out in real life constantly. Look at what happened to Mike, a software developer who spent years helping his brother's failing startup. He worked for free, poured in his savings, and put his own career on hold. "I thought I was being a good brother," he told me, "but I was actually helping him avoid reality." Only when Mike stepped back and focused on his own success did his brother finally face his business problems and turn things around. Or consider the story of Emma, a nurse who prided herself on never saying no to extra shifts, covering for unreliable co-workers, and taking on everyone else's responsibilities. She thought she was helping patients. Instead, she burned out so badly she had to leave nursing entirely. Her selflessness ultimately meant fewer nurses available to help patients. Compare this to her colleague who maintained strict boundaries, took care of her own health, and has been successfully helping patients for 20 years. But here's where Rand's insight gets really interesting. She found that people who demand selflessness are often hiding something. In Atlas Shrugged, the loudest advocates for sacrifice are secretly destroying society for their own gain. In real life, we see similar patterns. The boss who calls you selfish for not working unpaid overtime is often the same one taking huge bonuses. The friend who guilts you about not helping enough is often avoiding responsibility for their own choices. The psychological toll of constant self-sacrifice is massive. Studies show that people-pleasers have higher rates of depression and anxiety. They often develop hidden resentment that poisons their relationships. Worse, they teach others that their boundaries don't matter. Think about parents who sacrifice everything for their kids. They often raise adults who struggle with guilt and entitlement. But what about community? What about helping others? This is where critics misunderstand Rand. She wasn't against voluntary generosity. She was against the idea that sacrifice is a moral duty. Think of it like airplane oxygen masks. You have to secure your own before helping others. This isn't selfish. It's the only way to be truly helpful. Modern examples are everywhere. Look at Elon Musk with Tesla and SpaceX. People called him selfish for pursuing unnecessary luxury cars and wasteful space projects instead of directly helping the poor. But his selfish pursuit of his interests pushed electric car technology forward and revolutionized space travel costs. His focused self-interest accomplished more than if he'd sacrificed his vision to do what others considered moral. Even in everyday life, rational self-interest often helps others more than selflessness. When you build a successful business, you create jobs. When you take care of your health, you're more available for your family. When you pursue your talents, you create value for others. This is what Rand meant by the virtue of selfishness. Not cruelty or exploitation, but the courage to pursue excellence and create value in your own unique way. The key is understanding the difference between rational self-interest and simple greed. Rational self-interest means pursuing your goals while respecting others' rights. It means creating value, not stealing it. It means keeping promises and building trust because those serve your long-term interests. This is why Rand's heroes were creators and traders, not thieves and frauds. Let's talk about the true meaning of rational self-interest, because this is where everything clicks into place. When Rand talked about being selfish, she wasn't suggesting we become isolated islands. She was revealing something far more powerful, that excellence itself is a gift to the world. Think about someone like Steve Jobs again. His selfishness in pursuing his vision for Apple wasn't just about making money. He transformed how we communicate, work, and create. By refusing to compromise on his standards by being difficult and selfish about quality, he helped create tools that millions use to achieve their own dreams. That's the paradox Rand discovered. When talented people pursue their own excellence, they lift everyone around them. Let's look at something more every day. Maria, a chef I interviewed, spent years cooking what others expected, following safe recipes, and putting her innovative ideas aside. Her restaurant was moderately successful, but something was missing. When she finally started cooking the fusion cuisine she loved, despite warnings that it was too weird for her small town, something amazing happened. The restaurant didn't just survive, it thrived. Her selfish decision to cook her way created jobs, inspired other local chefs to be more creative, and gave her community something unique. Or take James, a personal trainer who was taught that charging high rates was selfish. He kept his prices low to help more people, but had to take on so many clients that he couldn't give anyone his best. When he finally raised his rates significantly, people called him greedy. But with fewer clients, he could transform each person's life completely. His selfish pricing actually helped his clients achieve better results. The tech world is full of these examples. When Mark Zuckerberg refused to sell Facebook early on, many called him selfish and greedy. But his selfish decision to maintain control of his vision helped create a platform that's reconnected billions of people with lost friends and family. When Larry Page and Sergey Brin insisted on their unique approach to search engines, competitors laughed. Their selfish pursuit of their own standards changed how humanity accesses information. But here's the really interesting part. True self-interest creates a kind of natural harmony. When you do what you're best at, when you create at your highest level, you naturally seek out others doing the same. That's why Silicon Valley exists. Excellence attracts excellence. That's why great restaurants often cluster together. They raise the standards for everyone. Your selfish pursuit of your best work helps create communities of excellence. Look at someone like Joe Rogan. He was called selfish for insisting on complete creative control of his podcast. But that selfishness created a platform where long-form conversations could flourish, influencing the entire media landscape. Or consider Taylor Swift's selfish decision to re-record her albums. It wasn't just about her rights. It sparked a larger conversation about artists owning their work. This is what separates productive selfishness from destructive greed. Productive selfishness creates value, new products, new ideas, new possibilities. Greed just consumes what others have created. The ruthless corporate raider who destroys companies for quick profits isn't practicing Rand's philosophy. They're violating it by destroying value rather than creating it. The world desperately needs this kind of productive selfishness. We need scientists who selfishly pursue truth over popular opinion. We need artists who selfishly guard their creative integrity. We need entrepreneurs who selfishly believe in their ideas, even when everyone says they're wrong. Because these selfish pursuits of excellence are exactly what move humanity forward. Remember, every major breakthrough in human history came from someone who refused to sacrifice their vision. Every great achievement started with someone being selfish enough to believe in their own potential. That's not just philosophy. That's how progress happens. So maybe it's time to ask yourself, what excellence are you sacrificing? What value could you create if you were selfish enough to pursue your highest potential? Here's the ultimate truth about self-interest that Rand discovered. Real achievement, productive work, that's the highest moral purpose you can serve. Not sacrifice, not mindless giving, but the pursuit of your own excellence. And this changes everything about how we view success and helping others. Think about what usually happens when someone achieves something great. People immediately start demanding they give back. They shame successful people for having too much, while others have too little. But Rand saw through this. The greatest creators and innovators already gave their most valuable gift, their work itself. The iPhone in your pocket, the movies that move you, the medicines that save lives. These didn't come from sacrifice. They came from people selfishly pursuing their vision of what's possible. Let's get practical about applying this philosophy. You don't have to become a cold, disconnected person. Instead, start by identifying where you're sacrificing your potential. Are you staying in a job you've outgrown because others depend on your paycheck? Are you letting family obligations stop you from starting that business? Are you doing free work that's draining your energy for real achievement? Here's a powerful example. Richard, a talented programmer, spent years helping friends with their tech problems for free. He felt guilty charging for his skills, but this kindness kept him from building something bigger. When he finally focused on his own software company, he created tools that helped thousands of businesses work better. His selfish focus helped more people than his scattered generosity ever could. But there's a crucial balance to strike. Rand wasn't against voluntary cooperation or genuine friendship. She was against the idea that you owe others your life, your work, or your dreams. You can help others, but from a position of strength and choice, not duty and sacrifice. It's like what flight attendants say. Secure your own oxygen mask first. You're no good to anyone if you've given away all your air. The real secret? The world actually needs your selfishness. Not the petty, destructive kind, but the profound selfishness of someone committed to excellence. Every time someone shrinks their dreams to avoid being called selfish, humanity loses something valuable. Every time someone sacrifices their potential on the altar of obligation, we all get a little poorer. Look at the biggest challenges facing us. Climate change, disease, poverty. These won't be solved by sacrifice. They'll be solved by people selfishly pursuing solutions, selfishly believing they can make a difference, selfishly insisting on their right to create and achieve. That's the final paradox Rand revealed. The more people pursue their highest potential, the more humanity as a whole benefits. So maybe it's time to stop apologizing for your ambitions. Stop feeling guilty about pursuing excellence. Stop sacrificing your dreams on the altar of others' expectations. Because your highest achievements, the ones that come from pursuing your own vision, developing your own talents, creating your own value, those are your real gift to the world. And that's not selfish. That's human nature at its best. Think about that the next time someone tells you you're being selfish for pursuing your goals. Maybe, just maybe, that selfishness is exactly what the world needs from you.